Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. You can't separate peace from freedom. Slavery is theft. Theft of a life. These three quotes share the same topic, slavery, one of the most disgusting practices on human lives that took root thousands of years ago and still goes on to this very day. Many famous activists have spoken out and even tried to uproot the system that traded on human cattle, and many more died attempting it. With it being a very hot topic, Kenshi and its creator was very brave in implementing it with law so well, and when there is slavery, there will always be rebels which will fight tooth and nail to eradicate it. Star Wars had the rebels, Assassin's Creed had Adawale, and Kenshi has the anti-slavers. But why is Kenshi's anti-slaver group the topic of this video? Well, to put it poetically, they are fighting for a tomorrow they will never see, killing for families that will face the same fate they're fighting against. But to put it bluntly, they are fucked. Let's look at the reasons why. The metallic man who started the anti-slavers is a skeleton whose origins date back to the Second Empire, which for most people unfamiliar with Kenshi law is around 1000 years ago. He was most likely a military general serving under the Emperor Catlon, also a robot. As the years went by, Catlon started to distrust the humans and wanted to enslave or eradicate them. The man who stood against this was Tinfist, who heavily disagreed with him, and before Catlon could react, parted ways with his once friend. After wandering for an unspecified time, mostly around 150 years, he met a man called Gatwood the Soft, a human who had mastered the ways of martial arts. Tinfist states that he had many fights, yet never took a life. Likely as a penance for the atrocities he carried out in Catlon's name, he adopted those unarmed traditions and trained under Gatwood to become a master of martial arts. Most likely a few years after mastering these techniques, he founded the anti-slavers, wanting no man, living or machine, to serve as property. When starting a game in Kenshi, the anti-slavers have one settlement in Stobes Gamble. On a mountain top is a scrappy little town called Spring. It's the faction HQ to the anti-slavers and its inhabitants. There are 6 properties that are for sale here, and also a tech hunter shop, showing a sort of alliance between the two. The anti-slavers having this alliance allows them to access some advanced technology, such as level 3 steel refinery and hydroponics. They patrol no areas and can only be found here. It is also a diverse nation, being led by an anti-slaving robot, humans, sheks and hivers, and they are all accepted with open arms. Any alliance with the Holy Nation, Traders Guild or the United Cities will cite you an enemy of the anti-slavers. Deeming you a supporter of slavery, they will attack you on sight, and unlike Tinfist's master, they will leave you for dead. Don't assume as they don't carry weapons themselves that they cannot handle themselves. The law behind them states that the anti-slavers lead many raids on United States territories, citing him a terrorist, and a hefty bounty of 100,000 cats is placed on Tinfist's head. Tinfist himself is one of, if not the strongest character in Kenshi, being able to one-shot most characters with his stats being so high, they literally break the game. For those who don't play Kenshi much or take a more relaxed playthrough, there are some things called world states that are attached to the characters. These are things that influence what happens in the game depending on the player's choices, and the anti-slavers have a lot of them. World states are events that happen if a certain character is kidnapped or killed. Many important characters like Emperor Tengu or the Holy Lord Phoenix have world states tied to them. Tinfist himself has many, and the anti-slavers have even more. Here is a few of them of what could happen. If Tinfist himself is killed or imprisoned while both Emperor Tengu and Longan are both alive and free, it will cause the cult villages and both of the fishing villages to be taken over by the slave traders. The settled nomads town near them would be empty as well, citing that because Tinfist is now dead, the anti-slavers are disabled. If the player has an outpost, killing or kidnapping Tinfist will cause a Jonin assault comprised of 10 to 20 anti-slaver Yonins, with special leaders either being Yagar, Bo or Grey. All of these named characters are commanders of the anti-slavers. If Emperor Tengu and Longan are both killed or imprisoned while Tinfist is alive and free, Trader's Edge, one of the cities in the United Cities, will fall under the control of the anti-slavers, and Heng will have a prosperous town override. If Longan or Lady Kana, both nobles of the United Cities, are killed or imprisoned, anti-slavers will start patrolling in the region of the Great Desert, United Cities territories. If Longan or Slave Mistress Rent and Slave Mistress Ruben or Slave Master Grande is killed or imprisoned, anti-slavers will start patrolling in the region of Heng, another United Cities territory. If Slave Master Grande is killed or imprisoned, anti-slavers will start patrolling in the region of the Stormgap Coast. While their mission seems noble, the anti-slavers have many downsides to it. At best, they are ambitious but foolish. Even if they were to beat slavery, they would have bigger problems. First of all is logistics. While they don't have to worry about supplying weapons to their followers as they fight with their bodies, they then have to worry about training recruits up to a level where they can competently take on armoured enemies with actual weapons. Think of this situation realistically. You have to train a man who has no martial arts experience to defeat a man who is not only cladded in metal armour, but also has a sword or weapon. There are many real-world martial artists right now, and 99.99% of them would easily be defeated by a man with a small knife. The average man with a weapon beats the average man without one. Think of John Jones, he is probably the only person who can do that. Keeping on the topics of logistics is food. Tinfist himself is a skeleton who does not require any. However, the rest of his army are fleshy organisms who require nutrition to survive. They only have a handful of hydroponics at their base, which logically should be enough to sustain themselves, but should they gain an influx of recruits or conquer a new town, they would soon have a problem. Sure, they can keep conducting raids on enemy supply lines to feed and pay themselves, but not only are they risking lives every time they step foot in enemy nations, how long until they become the bandits that they fight against? Pay is another factor when it comes to troops. United Cities samurais and Holy Nation paladins are paid a salary by their masters as they have a fixed income. The anti-slavers have no such source. They produce nothing and sell nothing. They cannot operate in any major cities and must rely on raiding to keep them paid, which makes them nothing more than bandits in my opinion. The last of logistics is morale. A soldier of the United Cities has prestige, fixed pay, food and safety in their home territory. A soldier of the anti-slavers have none. They live in constant fear and risk their lives daily just to live in these poor conditions. It won't be the Holy Nation or the United Cities that gets them, it'll be the attrition. The second part of their downfall is Tinfist himself. While a mechanical karate-kicking ass-smashing badass is cool to look up to, he has many flaws which hinder the anti-slavers. His biggest flaw though is his mental state. Skeletons have lived for so long that we have to periodically commit to a memory wipe to keep them optimal. Living hundreds of years and witnessing the cruel acts of humanity and robots alike, they do this tradition to avoid a robot depression, which a lot of the skeletons have. Tinfist, however, abhors memory wiping and dialogue suggests he's going crazy, with him saying his catchphrases and weird sentences when it comes to serious topics. It shows that him not memory rebooting is playing with his mind. How long until he turns into another Catlon? Another curse of himself is his reputation. This may seem like a boon considering no man wants to face Tinfist himself, but this also makes him a constant target with a massive 100,000 cat bounty on his head. Loyalists and bounty hunters alike will strike at any time to kill him and his followers. It's not only Tinfist who will suffer if he dies, it's the whole anti-saver group that goes down with him. If the Holy Phoenix dies, another replace him, another stoic leader to lead Okran's followers like many have before. If Emperor Tengu dies, another emperor is chosen and life goes on normally. If Tinfist dies, however, it will be the downfall of them. Tinfist is the anti-slaver's strongest warrior, and considering his reputation on how he leads every battle, his death would severely cripple the anti-slaver's military forces. Many warriors would be heavily disheartened if he falls and most likely would flee the anti-slavers, seeing it as a lost cause. The new recruits would also suffer as Tinfist is the only one that knows Gatwood's teachings, and with the best teacher being dead, the new recruits' training will be worse. The last though is who will replace him. There are a handful of commanders in the anti-slavers that could take over after his death, but no one could ever replace him. They would never match his strength, technique, or charisma it takes to lead a bunch of unarmed rebels against the two biggest factions the world has ever seen. Their third and final downfall, however, is their main objective, slavery. While being a disgusting act and most likely the most deplorable practice man has ever practiced, in the world of Kenshi, it is not only a necessary evil, but it has been engraved in culture so much that stopping it will break the economy itself. Think of the United Cities slaves now. They're not just breaking rocks for the fun of it. They're gathering all the building material that goes into every building on the map. When you buy iron ore from a general shop, or building materials from a mechanical shop, who do you think produced it? Slaves. The food you buy when you're starving in the desert, it isn't baked by a lonely old grandmother made with love. Its crops are harvested by a poor bastard chained to a post wondering if he'll ever see his family again. The house you purchased in the United City when you've made enough money to stop sleeping in the bar was built by slave labour, using slave materials, and that money is going towards a slave owner who now wants to build another house with more slaves. It just doesn't work. Even if they rallied slaves all around the planet, they're taking barely trained unarmoured meatbags against experienced armoured samurais with steel blades and long-range crossbows that will cut them down before they can even get close. Who is to say that a slave doesn't want to be freed? A man who has no house and no job, who was starving to death, now has food and a bed with the exchange of work, and the possibility of someday being released. To some people, being owned is being free, and Tinfist could potentially rip this away from them, to be then told you have to fight against the people who are feeding you, while we as well cannot. Overall, Tinfist is a hero. He is fighting men 10 times his size for no personal reward. He is fighting to atone for his sins and making sure no man has to ever be owned as cattle. However, do these acts make him brave or stupid? What do you think? Thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe and comment what you thought about this video or if you have any questions about Kenshi itself. Thank you, and remember to have a good one. And also, please follow my Instagram. I've been asking for ages. Please.